Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something huge for anyone building with AI. It's a new developer toolkit from Anthropic, and it's all about smashing through the most frustrating walls in development. So if you're a developer building any kind of serious AI agent, you know the feeling, right? You map out this amazing, complex workflow. And then, bam, you hit a wall. So just imagine for a second. What if those walls, the ones that force you to compromise, the ones that limit just how ambitious you can be, what if they just vanished? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. And this isn't just one new shiny feature. It's a whole set of tools designed to go after the three biggest headaches developers face: running out of memory, watching your costs spiral out of control, and trying to make an agent that can handle a crazy number of tools. All right, so let's actually talk about that wall, because if you're in this space, you've definitely slammed right into it. It's that moment your agent, no matter how clever it is, just can't go any further because of the platform's basic limitations. And it pops up in a few really annoying ways. First up, context limits. Your agent's deep into a workflow, it's crunching through files, calling APIs, and then it completely forgets what you talked about at the beginning. Then there's cost. Every single one of those API calls, every little result that comes back, it adds up. And that bill can get scary fast. And finally, tool complexity. You want your agent to talk to everything: Slack, GitHub, Jira, you name it. But just loading the instructions for hundreds of tools can burn through your entire context window before the user has even typed a word. Okay, so how do we start knocking down these walls? Well, the foundation for this whole toolkit is a new, much smarter model, Claude Opus 4.5. You gotta think of it as the engine that makes all the other cool new stuff possible. And look, you don't have to take my word for it. The folks who got early access are already seeing some crazy results. This quote just nails it, right? It's not just that it's better at tough stuff like coding, it's that it's also way more efficient. It's getting better results while using fewer tokens. I mean, that's the dream: better and cheaper. And this isn't just talk. The performance gains are huge when you look at real-world benchmarks. We're not talking about tiny little improvements here. On ITER Polyglot, which tests coding in a bunch of different languages, it's a jump of over 10%. And on Terminal Bench, a test for really complex, long-running tasks, we're talking a massive 15% improvement. This is a serious leap forward in what the model can actually do. So with that more capable brain under the hood, let's go after that first big wall: memory. The dreaded context limit. This new toolkit gives you two totally different ways to handle this: one that happens on the server and one that happens on your end. Okay, so it's really important to get the difference between these two. On the left, we've got server-side clearing. Think of this like a surgical tool. As your conversation gets longer, the API automatically snips out the oldest tool results, like log files or whatever, before the prompt even gets to Claude. Your app still has the full history, but the model only sees the important stuff. Then on the right, you have client-side compaction. This is a whole different ballgame. When the conversation gets too long, the SDK basically tells Claude, hey, summarize all this for me, and then it swaps out that massive history for the neat little summary. Yeah, let's actually walk through this compaction thing because it's incredibly slick. Your SDK is basically just sitting there watching the token count. The second it goes over the limit you set, it pauses everything and has Claude whip up a summary. Then the SDK grabs that summary and just replaces the entire huge conversation history with that one single message. And just like that, the conversation picks right back up, using the summary as the new starting point. It's like giving your agent an infinite memory. All right, so that's memory sorted. Now for wall number 2, cost. I mean, even if you have a massive context window, you've still got to pay for every single token. This next tool gives you a dial to control that trade-off between how good the response is and how much you're paying for it. It's called the effort parameter, and honestly, it's as simple as it sounds. Just picture a dial. By default, it's turned up to high, so Claude gives you the most thorough answer it can. But you can turn it down to medium or even low and tell the model, hey, be a little more frugal with the tokens. And the best part is, you get this control without having to switch to a less powerful model. And this table here lays it out perfectly. High effort, that's for when you need that deep dive analysis or you're creating educational content with all the steps. Low effort is for your high volume stuff, where another machine is reading the output and just needs the answer, not the explanation. And medium, that's going to be the sweet spot for most apps out there. You get a great balance of clarity and some serious cost savings. Okay, and if you're looking for that whoa moment, this is it. This is where it gets crazy. Check this out. With the effort dial set to medium, the new Opus 4.5 model gets the exact same top-tier score on a key benchmark as the previous model did at its absolute best, but it does it using an unbelievable 76% fewer tokens. That's not just an improvement, that's a total game changer for efficiency. Okay, memory solved. Cost under control. That brings us to the final, and let's be honest, maybe the trickiest wall of all, scale. How in the world do you build an agent that can intelligently use, I don't know, thousands of different tools without just collapsing under its own complexity? So the first part of the solution is something called tool search. See, the old problem, like we said, was you had to load all your tool definitions right at the beginning, and it just clogged everything up. Tool search flips that completely. Instead of loading everything, you just load one tool, a search tool. So when Claude needs to do something, like, say, create a pull request, it uses that search tool to find the exact tool it needs, and only then does it load that one definition into the context. And the effect? It is just wild. 95%. Think about that. For a typical agent using a bunch of tools, this approach can free up 95% of your context window that would have just been wasted. All that space is now wide open for the actual work. All right, the next piece of this is programmatic tool calling. And this tackles a problem you could call context pollution. Normally, every single tool call and all the raw data it spits back out gets dumped right back into the conversation. It's a mess. With this new way, Claude just writes a little bit of code, like a Python script, that handles calling multiple tools, chews through all the messy data, and only passes the clean, final answer back to the model. And this slide just shows you the night and day difference, right? On the left, the old way is just noisy and expensive. It's this constant, messy back and forth. But on the right, the new way is so clean and efficient. One request to the model, it writes the code does all the work, and the conversation history stays focused on what actually matters, the final answer. And the last feature for scaling is one of those things that seems small but is actually a massive deal. Tool use examples. A schema can tell a model that a date field needs a string, sure, but it can't tell it the format. Is it November 6th or is it 2024-11/06? By just giving Claude a few examples of how a tool is supposed to be used, you teach it the specific patterns your API is looking for, and that makes it way more accurate and reliable. So look, when you start putting all these pieces together, the smarter model, the new ways to manage context and cost, and these advanced tool features, it stops being just a list of features. It becomes a whole new powerful toolkit for building the next generation of AI agents. What this really does is give you, the developer, a whole new set of superpowers. You've now got basically infinite memory for your long-running tasks. You have total control over your cost to balance your budget with performance, and you've got the ability to build at a massive scale, creating agents that can handle thousands of tools with no problem. And that brings us right back to where we started. All those walls that used to box you in, that defined the limits of what was even possible, they're coming down. So the question isn't, what can I build within the limits anymore? The only question left is, with those limits gone, what are you going to build now?